In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
RBC Heritage, next stop PGA Tour this week. We go out to the Progressive guest line for some analysis on the event and some best bets. Jeff Seeley joins the program now. You can follow him on X at CupmakerJeff. And the Cupmaker podcast is going to return next week. Jeff, good afternoon. Thanks for the time. Before we get into the card this week, you joined us for a couple of segments last week to talk about the Masters overall. I know your card started with A-Bear near the top, so you didn't have Rory. And you ran down all your placements, your top fives, 10s, 20s, all of that stuff that you liked. Overall, how did you end up doing on the Masters?
It wasn't great, guys. It had the potential to be huge, right? I had Cam Young, and had Cam Young come through, it would have been my biggest Masters ever. But no, you're right. I mean, Oberg didn't play well. Fitzpatrick didn't play particularly well. John Rahm didn't play well until Sunday. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know I needed Cam Young pretty big. So yeah, it was a loser for me. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes sometimes. But you know, I think we had the right guy. I think Cam Young was there, and for 2 rounds, was like the best player. Just couldn't make any putts on Sunday.
No, and nobody. I mean, look, Rory was all over the map with the driving. And kudos to him for somehow putting it together and winning the event. I'm actually still surprised, here we are on Wednesday, that nobody other than Scottie Scheffler could actually make a run at him on the back 9. That's what I was just like, wait a second, what's happening right now? He's going to win this thing? Are you kidding me?
Well, especially when you saw the early scoring and how people were just lighting it up early on. I thought the same thing. I thought somebody's going to go, because John Rahm went super low, right? And so certain people were going. There were some numbers out there, and I thought somebody's going to catch. And honestly, I thought Justin Rose had a chance for a while, right?
Sure.
Towards the back 9, you were like, hey, maybe Justin Rose actually gets it done. You know, what a story this would be. I wasn't excited as a Cam Young ticket holder, but it'd be more fun than seeing Rory win again. But it wasn't. Here we are. It didn't happen, and the rest is history.
So for this week, now Scotty's in the event. So do you want to attack just the regular odds board, or are you going to approach it from the winner without Scotty?
Yeah, I'm doing winner without on the outrights, and then a few of the top 5s. Guys, I'm going to mention one thing that I just kind of built out a parlay on that segues into another earlier segment you had. How about this? We're going to talk about 2 guys. I'll highlight them here. JT Poston and Wyndham Clark. With JT Poston top 30, Wyndham Clark top 30, parlayed to an Andre Drummond double-double is 23-1 on DraftKings.
Good find.
I love where your head's at with that.
Yeah.
So I think that could be a fun one. We'll talk about those guys here in a second.
All right. So who's the first guy then, winner without, that you want to go to war with this week?
Yeah, guys, I mean, Matt Fitzpatrick is 14-1, so in their winner without market, really easy click. Gained across the board in every category for 3 straight weeks, with the exception of losing a little bit with the putter at the Masters. Won this event in 23, was 5th in 21. He's 3rd in the field in approach over the last 6 months, and he's inside the top 30 in every other category you could possibly model out. So this is just a don't overthink it pick. I did bet him 14-1, the winner without. I also played him each way on Bet365. You could play him top 5 on DraftKings at 3-1 or so. But Fitzpatrick, I think, would be a great guy to start your card with. And another guy that I don't talk about often is Patrick Cantlay. He's 20-1 in the winner without market, 4-1 to finish top 5 with ties. But if you're ever going to play Patrick Cantlay, this is the place to play him. Since 2017, he's played in this event 7 times and missed 1 cut. In the other trips, he has 5 finishes inside the top 5 and a 7th place finish. So I think his Masters result will sneak up on people who weren't paying attention when they see he finished T12 because he was never on TV because people don't want to see him. But that was preceded by his 7th of the Valspar. He had 2 more top 15 finishes on the West Coast swing. So I think we're really getting a pretty informed Cantlay right now. My favorite play of the week really is him top 20 at -126. But I'm going to have some top 5 and a little bit of the outright as well.
Okay, you mentioned him earlier, every which way but loose with Poston. How many different ways do you want to play him?
Yeah, I'm playing him top 30, top 40, top 10, and then 68-1 in the winner without. And this is just a pure course horse play for me. 7 trips here. He has 4 finishes inside the top 8. What we know he's going to do here is get up and down, period. In his top 8 finishes, he's actually lost just under a stroke on approach on average. However, he always gains here off the tee because it's not a long course. You just got to keep in the fairway. And he gets up and down all of the time. So he just finished 21st at the Valero. So he's finding a little bit of form after a pretty bumpy March. But I think really we can lean on course history here, play him and ladder him at a good price, and then throw him in that top 30, throw him in that Drummond parlay.
Okay. Bomb squad, couple guys. Let's start with him. 80-1. How do you want to play him?
Yeah, he's 80-1 in the winner without market, which I think is tremendous. Top 30 plus 116. And guys, he's going to contend to win a tournament again sometime very soon, maybe this week. He led the Valspar for 3 rounds a few weeks ago and a respectable showing at the Masters despite some bad iron play. He's gained around the green in 3 straight, something he'll need to do here. He's gained off the tee every single time he's played here. I expect to see more of that this week. The irons aren't very sharp right now. They're not going to be, but I expect the rest of the game to be good enough to keep him in the conversation, hence the reason I like the 30-1. And Wyndham Clark, guys, is 96-1 in the winner without market, top 30 plus 136. He's gained ball striking in 6 straight events, including the Masters. His putting has been horrible, but everything else has been good, including his short game. So he made a run here in 2024 where he gained across the board and finished T3. His other 2 results here in the past 3 years have both been inside the top 30. So I like the top 30 at plus 136. And I'm also going to look to ladder him again, top 30, top 20, and top 10.
Boy, I'll say this. It's rare outside of circa numbers when they adjust their hold percentage, and you're going to find certain golfers like during a major like last week, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that's such a big number that I have to take some of that. It's rare when I'm surprised by a number, but you're exactly right. Wyndham Clark, 96-1 to win this event overall. The putt, is that the reason why? What else could be the explanation why it's so high this week?
Well, that's exactly it. It's the putting's been really bad. But again, you look at everything else. On approach, he's 22nd. Around the greens, he's 20th. 11th on strokes gained total. He's just his putting has been bad, but his history here is good, and his form is decent. It's not great, but it's not terrible. I mean, again, he was 21st at the Masters. Yeah, he missed 2 cuts, but 42nd the Players, 41st at the Genesis, 35th at Waste Management. Like, he's been okay, but it's been all putting. Like, he's losing over a stroke and a half putting in these events. If he doesn't lose putting like he barely did at the Masters, he finished T21. So, I mean, I don't think a top 20 is out of the question at all here, especially since he's proven he can play well here. So really like the top 30. Again, that leg with Poston and that parlay, guys, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have an Andre Drummond sweat before the tournament even starts.
Very good. You can follow Jeff on X. He is at Cutmaker Jeff. There you go with best bets on the 2026 edition of the RBC Heritage. Thanks, man. Go get him this week.
Thanks, fellas. Take care.
Jeff Seeley on the Progressive guest line. At 96-1 got my attention. Poston even at 68-1. Kind of a bomb number on him.
Yeah.
Didn't even qualify him as a bomb this week.
Mm-hmm.
But typically I think that would be in that category. All right. You got any of this action on soccer this week?
Not in the Champions League, but this is tremendous right now. In aggregate, Arsenal leads 1-0. They won the first leg 1-0, and it's scoreless right now in the 80th minute. So they would advance to the semis, and it's 4-4 on aggregate right now, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. And this is 3-2 Real Madrid on the road. This is crazy.
Some things that I would love to see American sports adopt would be this rule. And in fact, I think if the play-in game down the road, you could make, this would probably be too many games, but the 2 out of 3, you could have an aggregate, like scoring margin overall out of those 3 games. If they split the first 2 overall, I think would be awesome. but also like relegation in soccer is the best thing there is. And we've been begging for that in American sports. I just don't know. I don't think sports fans in this country would be able to wrap their heads around it.
No.
It would be one of those things where I think it would grow on everybody, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yep.
Meatman's pick, Luton Town, just won, too. Trying to come back, and promotion was 20-1. They just won in League One.
How much trouble do you think Arsenal really is in?
Oh, big time.
In the Prim.
Oh, if they lose to Man City, it's on.
Mm-hmm.
And watch that number move then. I mean, to go from $9 down to $160, with the great performance Man City had at Chelsea, and then they lose at home to Bournemouth. So they also have a game at City has a match in hand, too. So that's really going to get interesting if they win Sunday.
I had several cross-port parlays with Man City winning the Prim, but they were all tied into either Arizona or Duke winning the national title. I didn't have a single bet with Michigan winning the national title.
Yeah.
You know how much that stings?
Yeah.
Because it was Colorado to win the West. That was one of the major legs. Man City to win the Prim. And I think it was Spain to win the World Cup on 4-teamers. And then I threw in like Texas to win the College Baseball World Series on 5-teamers, but never once thought about putting Michigan in there. Had I, those would be fun tickets to be looking at right now.
I know. They were much the best for the first 4 months, but I guess it's easy to say now.
All right, yeah, that's right. Up next, win some, lose some. Paul's going to recap the betting action from last night, and I hate to say it, but I think Eric Spoelstra is right. That's next here on VSiN.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
We are live, as always, in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Busy hour coming up. The maestro, Mike Palm, on the program. He is the VP of this great property in 15 minutes. We'll talk about NHL series prices at that time, more NFL draft at the back end of the hour, and that's where we are going to begin as we go out to the Progressive Guest Line. Jacob Infante joins the program. He is with Windy City Gridiron and the Pro Football and Sports Network. Jacob, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yep. So we'll get into the draft overall. You also, as I mentioned, cover the Chicago Bears. Let's start there because they are minus 130 to take a defensive lineman or an edge player with their first pick overall in the draft. And right now they're slotted at number 25. But before we get into that, I think we have to ask about their chances of getting Dexter Lawrence maybe this offseason and how that can impact who they would take. What would you put the chances of this team actually getting Lawrence here coming up soon?
So I feel like if the Giants actually do trade Dexter Lawrence, I feel like Chicago's definitely got to be one of the front runners. I mean, they were in on Max Crosby. Ultimately, Baltimore outbid them, and then the trade fell apart, and then things just kind of reached a stopping point in that regard. So when I see Lawrence, I see a rare nose tackle type who's really good at putting pressure on the quarterback, and I think that's something that Chicago really struggled with along the interior and off the edge, but especially the interior last year. Now, he doesn't fit the typical size model that Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen typically likes at defensive tackle. Usually he likes a little bit of the smaller guys who can win with leverage and have that speed element to their game. But when you have a player like Lawrence, I mean, there's got to be an exception there. He's a tremendous pass rusher, eats up a lot of space in the run game. I feel like he's got to be a top priority for Chicago. And then if you look at the market, I mean, obviously there are going to be a lot of teams who are involved in him. I think that if Chicago offers the 25th overall pick, I think that's going to be a mark that very few teams are going to be willing to surpass. So if you're talking 25 straight up for Lawrence, I think that's something Chicago would do. I think it's something the Giants would do, quite frankly. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. But I do think that if he does get traded, Chicago's definitely got to be one of the front runners.
So if that doesn't happen, then Again, they're minus 130 to take that same position. They're plus 275 to take safety. Offensive lineman is plus 475. Where would you look at the Bears selecting first overall with their pick?
Me personally, I'd look along the defensive line. I think there's a lot of really good value in this class. Maybe not star level prospects, but I think just solid starters at defensive tackle, at defensive end. I think there's going to be a lot of really good value on the board when the Bears end up picking at 25. I wouldn't sleep on the secondary either. I think that there's a pretty big need at safety. They signed Kobe Bryant over from Seattle, but they still have an open starting spot, and I anticipate that's going to be filled through the draft, whether it's a round one or one of their 2 second rounders or third round pick. They can go in a lot of different directions there. And I'd also look at corner too, because Jalen Johnson's coming off an injury, good player. He's still young. Ideally, still plenty of football left ahead of him. Kyler Gordon in the nickel, also coming off of a season where he missed a lot of time due to injury. But Tyreek Stevenson's the one I'm looking at, where he's coming into a contract year. He's been inconsistent. Ultimately, the flashes have been there for him as a former second-round pick, but the consistency and the down-by-down reliability just isn't there. And I look at when all their outside corners were healthy down the stretch, and once you got to the playoffs, it was Jalen Johnson and Nahshon Wright who got there in the starting lineup. It wasn't Tyreek Stevenson. He was the one who got benched. So I think that, to me, screams that they don't see him as a trustable, reliable starting option. I certainly don't anticipate he's going to get paid big money once he hits the open market at this rate. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do go cornerback. I think that's a position that not enough people are talking about, and it could make a lot of sense for Chicago to look at if the value's there at 25.
What are you hearing on Caleb Downs and all the talk? Well, you can't take a safety top 5, top 6 of the draft. He is now 9.5 his draft position under minus 150. What are you hearing on him? And do you buy into that maybe he can't go top 5?
Top 5 could be difficult, but I do think he's going to go top 10. And I know that that's a pretty rarefied air because there hasn't been a safety to go in the top 10 since 2017, since Jamal Adams. But I think that Downs is someone who's well worth the exception. I mean, he's the most well-rounded safety I've scouted in quite some time. Uh-huh. He's of that caliber of a Kyle Hamilton, of a Derwin James coming out as a prospect, in my opinion, of a Jamal Adams to that point too. So in this class where there isn't a ton of high-end value at, the premier positions like quarterback, offensive tackle is solid, but it's, there isn't a blue chipper in the mix. Edge rusher there, we have your top 3 and there's a drop off from there. So I'm looking at, potentially you could see a team like, the Chiefs, at least going to that, under the 9.5, you're looking at, the Chiefs could make sense. The Saints can make sense. And then you do factor in maybe the Giants go in that regard because they have such a good defensive line. They want to have a potential all-pro at safety. That could make a lot of sense too. So top 5 could be difficult, but I think that there are enough teams that need safety help in the top 10, specifically in the top 9, that could make a lot of sense there. So I'm looking at definitely a top 10 pick, at least in my opinion, when you're looking at Caleb Downs.
Are you okay with Tennessee taking Love and a running back at 4?
Off of pure value, maybe. I think, like I said, it's a weird class. So you have Mendoza is going to go number 1, and then at quarterback, there's no other guy you're going to take in the top 10. Jeremiah Love, in terms of pure raw value, I have him as the number 2 overall prospect on my board. So I guess it would make sense from, excluding positional value. But at the same time, I mean, it's a running back. Usually they don't go very high. I think the Titans aren't close enough to contend to be able to take a running back with the number 4 overall pick. I mean, I look at what happened with the Raiders this past year. They took Ashton Genty, obviously an incredible talent coming out of Boise State. Obviously, Genty didn't have the best rookie season. I think a lot of that came down to they just didn't have the infrastructure around him. So that's not to say Genty's a bust by any means. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he'll end up being a star. But at least in that rookie year, I think that if you're going to take a running back that high, you need to make sure that the infrastructure is there around him. And I think if Jeremiah Love ended up going to Tennessee, I don't think that's there. So as talented as Love is, I don't think the Titans should take him at number 4 overall. I think he's probably somewhere where I think the Commanders can make a lot of sense for Love at number 7 overall. I think that the team that's much closer to competing. Obviously, 2 years ago, they were in the NFC Championship, but Yeah, I think that's a little steep for the Titans. It's a little early to go running back in the first round, at least in their stage of their rebuild.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Jacob Infante. You can follow him on X at Jacob Infante 24, Windy City Gridiron, and the Pro Football and Sports Network. So, everybody that we talk to, the draft basically starts at number 2 overall. Is it going to be Bailey? Is it going to be Reese? What is your opinion as of right now on that?
I feel like it kind of changes by the day. If I had to guess right now, I'd lean Arvell Reese, honestly. And a lot of that comes down to upside. I think that you see how well he performed in 2025, his versatility. If teams do have him as an edge rusher, I think that he's a no-brainer to go number 2 overall just off of the athletic upside. I think that, obviously, he's naturally an off-ball linebacker. At least during his time at Ohio State, he played a lot more in that regard. But you look at the physicality, you look at the speed, you look at the high motor, the craftiness as a pass rusher for someone who doesn't have too many reps in that regard. I think the ceiling is incredibly high. And David Bailey, obviously, the more proven pass rusher at this stage, more flexible, at least in my opinion, as a pass rusher coming off the edge. But I think, Reese is maybe a little bit more physical. Reese is a little bit stronger. I think he's a better athlete as well. He tested slightly better at the combine. So I know Bailey's the favorite. That wouldn't surprise me at all, but I think Arvell Reese has the highest ceiling of any defender in this class. So I think he'd be the pick in this regard.
Of some skilled groups, the number basically is 1.5, and then you can bet over under with a different juice on quarterbacks, tight ends, and running backs. Now, quarterback is basically a pick 'em. Are we going to get 2 or more? Either way, it's a long shot for a running back or for a tight end for us to get 2 of those in the first round. Do you see any of those happening?
Potentially. Just looking at the odds right now as far as specific positions, I think offensive linemen, it's certainly possible. I think that there are as many as 7 offensive tackles alone that could get drafted in the first round. And I think that you have to consider the round 2 value at tackle isn't very strong. I think a lot of those guys are going to be, really ramped up and maybe overdrafted in that regard. And that's not even including the interior guys like Venga Ioane out of Penn State. So offensive line, I could see being a possibility. Tight end, I think, is just going to be Kenyon Sadiq, but other positions as well. Corner, I'd go under on that. I know that's a minus 500. That's not necessarily the biggest potential payout, but I think you're looking at, as my cat crumbs across the screen.
Little kitty cat action, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're looking at Jermod McCoy, Mansour Delane as the only 2 locks in that regard to go in round 1. So do you say maybe an Avion Terrell goes in there, maybe D'Angelo Pons, maybe Brandon Cisse? I don't know. I think that there are a lot of different variables. So out of those positions, I think that corner might be a little bit difficult. Offensive line, I think there's going to be a run, though.
Jacob, we started Bears. We have like 30 seconds here. We'll close with their division. It's, again, only mid-April right now, so you have a chance you can change your opinion by the start of the season. But if you had to make a bet right now on which team is going to win the NFC North, who would you bet on?
I'd say the Bears, honestly. And I think it's going to be tough because I think the Lions are looking just as good as they were, before. The Packers, I think when Micah Parsons comes back healthy, they're going to be a team to watch. Kyler Murray's an upgrade over J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, but I look at Chicago. They didn't lose too many high-end contributors. The roster still looks really good. They have such a young offense that I think will only continue to get better. I like it at plus 340 for them to win the division, especially having already won the division this year.
Fair enough. You can follow Jacob on X at Jacob Infante 24. Thanks for the time, man. We appreciate that, and best of luck with the draft next week.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. Mike Palm on the program next. Series prices he likes in the NHL. And one of his favorite pitchers is going tonight. The Maestro explains how he's backing him next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Time now for Wednesdays with the Maestro. Mike Palm is the VP of Circa Las Vegas, the D and also the Golden Gate here in downtown. Joins the set here on a Wednesday like usual. Good to see you, Maestro. How are you today?
Hello, Mitch. Hello, Paul. How are you? Nice to be with you.
Doing well. We'll have this is good. I can't wait for you. You Cannot Be Serious coming up in 15 minutes. Something happened over the week, this week actually. That's like, really? Are you serious with this? You can't be. So you love the NHL, right?
Yeah,
love the NHL. You
do.
love Major League Baseball. Some of these series prices obviously are set. You can bet on them right now. Do you have strong opinions on what you're looking at here?
You know, in the East, where we know all the matchups, I don't know that I can find a favorite that I like. I think Philly's in better form than Pittsburgh. I think Urson's played better than either of the goalies of late for the Penguins. So I thought 170 was a heavy price there. Here's what's really amazing to me is that you can go across all these books here in Nevada, Mitch. In the East, the team with the third shortest futures is Ottawa, who's wild card 2. Think about that.
Have we seen that before?
I don't remember. It's not like they had a goalie that was out and they barely made the playoffs when the goalie came back and they had an incredible run, right? I mean, he was out for, because he told on people cheating. I mean, that was why he was out. But, this is pretty amazing how low they've been in the future books all year.
You have that too, right?
I certainly think Carolina's on upset alert. Now, our good friend Jonathan Davis, remember, he made the bet before the year that Carolina would be eliminated in the second or third round. He's going to have to survive this first round. I think Montreal's a dangerous. I think that's really a heavy price. I get Tampa's really good, but this is Ottawa and Montreal are two teams that both got a taste of the playoffs, which I think is very important. And why I think it's difficult to lay a heavy price with Buffalo. Things just don't happen. I feel that way a little bit like about the Spurs in the NBA too. Teams just don't go from nowhere to champions.
Yeah.
In these leagues where it's best of 7 in the playoffs, you don't just go from nowhere to champion. It's different, and when it's a one and done stuff, whether it's college basketball or it's football where you have to win one game to advance. These are 7-game series. So I think you can make the argument for all the dogs. And of course, that I love the Wild over the Stars. In the West, I bet the Stars to lose in the first round plus 145, which is obviously a better price. As Minnesota's getting bet in this series, I saw Dallas open 130, now down to 120. So the plus 145 was when we didn't know the matchups and when Dallas could have still caught Colorado. So it would have been bad if they'd have been the 1 seed. But I just don't believe in Ottinger. And I think I listened to Bill Guerin last night on the Wild telecast of the game against the Ducks. And he's right. This is the first time they've been healthy in 6 years. They asked him, why has your power play been so much more effective? He said, because we just have much better players now. The number one issue for our power plays, guys have to be selfless because all 5 guys can score. And I've read Mitch and Paul some articles in the Minnesota media and saw some, they're saying Gustafsson and Wallstead haven't been good enough. First of all, Wallstead has the second best save percentage in the whole NHL. And by the way, in games against playoff teams, he has the top save percentage in the NHL. And you have 2 defensemen that think they're forwards in Hughes and Faber, right? I mean, so the goalie's going to see a lot of shots on goal because they're not defensive defensemen. They're offensive defensemen. I think Minnesota's got a great chance. They win all in. I think they have an excellent chance to get to the final.
You get to the final?
I do.
Okay. What were you saying before we came back here with Mike about the Bruins?
Wyshynski talked to a coach in the league and said, who has the potential to flop? And the guy said, Buffalo. Everything has gone right. I don't want to be a downer, but he thinks it's a learned experience at times in the playoffs.
Exactly. They have no playoff experience. 15 years of no playoff experience.
Did you see what the Buffalo Sabres Twitter account did this week?
No, I did not.
They went back and they said, okay, here you go. They put up the standings, right? They showed it and they said, we're going to go back and get the receipts. They went back the entire year and put people on blast for saying this team has like literally zero chance, 0.0% chance to make the playoffs. And it was receipt after receipt after receipt. So they're playing with a little bit of an edge. Not that that means anything.
No, I don't like that.
Oh, you don't?
What's
Okay.
the point of that? You made the playoffs. Now go prove something. What's up? Look, their record since mid-December is ludicrous, right? It's the best record in the league, and it's not even close. Where they came from mid-December, well, it was like December 9th. They're like 48-11 or something.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Would you? So we talked about this briefly the other day.
Yeah.
How much will playoff hockey change? And I'll throw the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia series at you. This run by the Penguins going over their games is what now 17-2-1, I think, in their last 20.
Yes.
Does that continue with the numbers 6.5? Or are we going to see?
I feel for these teams that play these high-scoring games, I think the playoffs become a rude awakening. And I feel that way about Anaheim in the West, and I feel that way about Pittsburgh. Because playoff hockey, is totally different. I mean, back when you guys were first on the air here on VSiN, remember playoff totals were 4.5. Remember? And it was 1.5 minus 150 to the unders in the first period. I get the game has changed a little bit since then. But playoff hockey is a much different thing. You can't play from the back and be cute. You got to get the puck out, get it deep, get your changes in. You don't want to take penalties, right? You're going to be much more cautious to take penalties. I think it's a much different game. I think the game in the NBA and the NHL change the most when you get to the playoffs.
Is anybody going to beat Colorado in the West?
Well, I don't know. I mean, everybody thinks that Colorado is this super team, and I get offensively they are, but I mean, is everybody saying, oh, God, we can't beat Scott Wedgwood? Oh, God, we'll never beat Mackenzie Blackwood. These guys were backup goaltenders, right? And I know they've had a great year, but they get great goal support. I think they're beatable. You saw them go through a long lull. Now, some of it's they were so far out ahead, and they were just waiting for the playoffs to come. Maybe all three teams in the Central at the top got a little bit of that through at different points in the second half of the season. But I don't think they're invincible. I think Minnesota comes through the Central.
How is Gary Bettman going to react if we get Ottawa versus the Wild in the Stanley Cup final? Is that a good one for him?
I don't. He might try to become the commissioner of baseball. I'm not. I'm going to talk about Gary Bettman in the next segment, by the way.
Well, we are. What's Vegas is $3 tonight. They're 0-3 against Seattle. Yeah. The division on the line. What do you think?
I think, well, they got to get a point.
1 point.
They haven't lost in regulation since Torts took over.
Yep.
Right? I think they get the point, and they'll be playing Utah.
Okay. How do you
First of all, if I'm Edmonton, I don't mind getting Anaheim. I would like to get Anaheim if I'm Edmonton, right? Yes. And Edmonton also has the argument, Vegas had home ice last year, and you ran them over 4-1 with Vegas having home ice. So I think Edmonton likes having the 2 seed.
Okay.
Edmonton, Anaheim would be fantastic. No one wants to see Edmonton, LA the 5th year in a row.
Oh, no.
How that would play out. We don't want that. How about what Montreal did yesterday? With Philly nothing to play for and clinching, and Montreal could have had home ice. And our guy Rich in Canada has said all year Montreal's winning the East. But Tampa, Jeff Davis makes Tampa 240 in that series.
Jeff Davis thinks that Tampa towers over the whole Eastern. In talking to him the last couple of months, he just thinks Tampa is that much better than the rest of the East. I was stunned. They were down 2-0 after 1 last night. Philly sat everybody.
Yeah.
They're playing a AAA team.
Yep.
So were the Wild last night and beat Anaheim, who had something to play for, because the Kings could still get the 3, right? And you had to be the wild card. So I don't know. I mean, it's pretty amazing. You see most of these spots where teams are, in the NBA, when they lay down, they really lay down. But last night, Philly, off a celebration, off the overtime win, after clinching the playoffs, I thought they'd be dead flat. All these kids come out and play, and here they go and beat Montreal, who's trying to get home ice.
Can you explain what happened right before you came on the show? Huge soccer match, right, between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. It was bonkers what happened. Explain what that meant here at Circus Sports.
Well, we took a huge parlay yesterday, and it was a 2-team parlay, both games in 90 minutes of the second leg. So on the 3-way, it was Barcelona to Real Madrid. Well, Barcelona wins. They don't advance because they needed to win by 2 to force extra time. But they win yesterday. And then the second leg was Real Madrid, which is plus 355 on the 3-way. And, of course, they led 1-0 in the first minute. They led 2-1 after 29. They led 3-2 at half and 3-2 all the way till the 87th minute. Of course, the red card hurt. But that parlay would have paid $1.2 million. Yeah. 1 point. So that was a decent swing for Derek. Derek, I think that's the first time Derek's actually watched soccer. Maybe other than a World Cup final.
What was the better watching here?
The better was not here.
Not here?
The better was, what I was surprised by, guys? I came down while your show was on yesterday. There were a lot of PSG fans in here yesterday.
This place was absolutely
busy. Did you see all the
busy.
PSG fans? Yeah. It was impressive.
There was a goal right before, when we come in here at the end of Money Moves, the place is going crazy because a goal was scored right at that exact moment.
Yeah, I was impressed.
With the Masters here, Derek said it was a very popular event, obviously, at your property here.
Yeah, good turnout, especially at stadiums. But the weather was so nice, right? Yeah. And a beautiful wedding. His son got married here this past weekend, and they had a big party up there for the Masters on Sunday as well. So, we did tremendous right heading into it. We're very disadvantaged because of the in-play on golf right now, and not being able to book this in-play, which we're going to get there, hopefully by next Masters. But golf's a huge, and you guys know, it's a huge in-play sport.
And is that just because of the technology, or?
It's because of our technology.
The technology, that's the reason why?
Yep.
All right, let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We'll continue Wednesdays with the Maestro. You know it well. a tradition unlike any other. The WNBA draft. I can't wait to hear this next on You Cannot Be Serious.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
A lot of bets to get here now as VSiN host Matt Youmans joins the program. He is on the Progressive Guest Line. He's on the show every single Wednesday at this time. Matt, good afternoon. Thanks for the time as always. Let's begin NFL draft. We've been talking about this event now every day, going back at least a good couple of weeks away, it seems. I don't have a ton of bets in the old portfolio as of right now. What about you?
A ton? Do you have any? I want to know if you have any.
I have a couple. I got Bailey to go second overall, and per our guest the other day, I took Thieneman to go top 10, the safety out of Oregon.
Yeah, I like Dylan Thieneman a lot, and I don't know if he's going to go top 10. You must have had a pretty good number on that. What do you got, 5-1 or higher?
15-1.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think I got him in my mock draft, which I'm still working on. I've got him going 18th to the Vikings. Okay. I think he might go a little bit sooner. I think he could go as high as 12. But, the question about the draft is interesting because, we've been talking NFL draft a lot on this network since betting was legalized in Nevada around 2018 or so. And there have been years I've had anywhere from 20 to 35 bets on the draft. And the market has just dried up so much. And I heard you guys talking with Derek Stevens about this yesterday. And Derek exaggerated a little bit because Circa has won a couple of years on the draft. So it's been a very small win. Chuck Esposito at Red Rock last year said they won on the draft. So bookmakers, and DraftKings has won on the draft at least one of the past couple of years. So bookmakers can win on this event. But in the early years as bettors, we slaughtered the bookmakers. And that's why a lot of books don't want to put up these NFL draft props, or they put them up late now. And they don't keep them up for too long. They might keep them up for 3 or 4 days tops. I know one book last year had them up for about 48 hours and took them down. So as of right now, I've got 3 bets in the draft, and that's it. And I'm trying to find more. And obviously, the information is better the closer you get to the draft. Now, I've been reading stuff every day or every night on the draft for about the last month or so. And I've got Ty Simpson in the first round. I was really fired up about this prop initially. I'm not as enthusiastic about it now. I bet this is a bad number. I bet quarterbacks over 1.5 at minus 215. I just bet it again over 1.5 at minus 130. And, that number went as high as minus 270 and the bottom has fallen out of it. But here's the thing. We had Tony Pauline on our show 2 nights ago. Tony's been a draft analyst for 30 years, highly respected. He said he's 90% strong on Ty Simpson being a first-round pick because the supply and the demand of quarterbacks. After Simpson, there's such a huge drop-off, and there's a group of about 5 teams, aside from the Raiders, who want a quarterback. So he still thinks Simpson's going to be a first-rounder. Anyway, I bet over 1.5 quarterbacks. I've got Ty Simpson to the Cardinals at plus 130. I know the Cardinals, for a fact, are interested in Ty Simpson, and they want to get him. They might have to trade up into the first round to get him. And I also bet under 5.5 wide receivers at minus 150. I think there's going to be 5 wide receivers in the first round. I can't really find the 6th. So those are the only 3 props I got so far, but I'm certainly trying to find more every day.
Sounds good. That was a great cut from Tony as well that we replayed. Hope you get that, cash that. You're seeing money on the Lakers now. Rockets now as low as $5.50 to win the series price. 2 games tonight. Anything you like tonight? Anything you like series prices coming up with the NBA playoffs, please?
I took the Lakers plus 5.5 in Game 3, and I don't love the bet, but I do think if you're going to get one big effort from the Lakers without Luka, without Austin Reeves, it's going to be in Game 1. Saturday night in L.A., and I think the Lakers, actually, I watched them late in the season. Now they were playing some cupcake opponents, skeleton crews out there on the opposite side, but the Lakers won 3 in a row to finish the season. LeBron played some of the best basketball I've seen him play all year. He's rested. He's energetic. I thought he looked great at the end of the season. LeBron, Rui Hachimura, DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, with Jake LaRavia coming off the bench. Dalton Knecht actually hit 5 threes in the last game against Utah. I think this team has got enough to hang in there with Houston, maybe pull the upset in game 1. As far as the Lakers winning the series, no, I'm not buying that. Not really buying that Luka's going to come back. And if he does come back, look, he's been off for almost a month. He's not going to be in great shape. He's not going to be ready to roll. I'm not really buying that Austin Reeves is going to be able to come back. So, no, the Lakers to win the series, no, but I will take them plus 5.5 in game 1.
All right.
Anything that you like tonight in the NBA?
I have not bet anything tonight. I kind of like the favorites. I like the dogs last night. I like the favorites tonight. I think the Sixers, even without Embiid, should win that game against a weak Magic team. And, we were talking about Jeff Sherman. We were talking about this with Sherman last night, that do the Golden State Warriors really want to win this
Absolutely.
game? Do they really care about winning?
That's a great question. Right? Absolutely. Yeah. Good question.
So I don't think they really do care that much about winning it. And it's hard to trust the Clippers. I never want to lay points with the Clippers, but I might moneyline parlay the 2 favorites tonight and go that route.
Yep. To your point, I mentioned it last year. The Mavs were in the same situation. Lost and then turned it into Cooper Flag. So what's the Golden State's reward for winning? If you can get blasted by OKC or you still have to win another game. How about Ohtani going against the Mets, who have lost 7 in a row and have 10 total runs during the losing streak?
This Mets offense is anemic. It's actually comical to watch. And last night, Francisco Lindor finally got off the snide. He led off with a home run. That's his first RBI of the season. He went into last night's game batting 176. So with no Soto, the Mets have been shut out in back-to-back games. They scored 1 run last night. The 2 games against the Dodgers, 2-1 and 4-0. They got swept by the A's at Citi Field over the weekend. There's nobody in the lineup who's really hitting. So last night, Yoshinobu Yamamoto takes him out. He gives up that leadoff homer and completely shuts down the Mets. Tonight, it's going to be Shohei Ohtani. And Ohtani's been pretty good so far. 12 innings, no earned runs. He has not been dominant in terms of his strikeouts. He's allowed 5 hits, 4 walks. He's got 8 strikeouts in 12 innings. But how about this? On the other side, Clay Holmes has pitched really well for the Mets. 18 innings over his 3 starts. He's allowed only 3 earned runs. So I look at this 2 ways tonight. I played the Dodgers. I hate run line bets, but I played the Dodgers minus 1.5 at plus 107 and under the total of 8.
Okay. All right. Who are you drawing a line through this week at the RBC Heritage? I know that you like to cancel guys because you don't like them on the tour, as do I. But who do you not want anything to do with really this week on the tour?
Well, you know what? I'm sitting at Dairy Queen right now. I'm having a $7 meal deal.
All right.
And if Justin Rose had finished off at Augusta, I would be at Barry's eating steak tonight. But instead, I'm at DQ right now. So even if Scotty Scheffler had finished off the comeback. So I had a lot tied into Scheffler. So it was a very disappointing result. Those 2 guys not getting there. Top 10s and top 20s worked out well for me last week, but the futures were losers. And I'm not going to do much in the futures this week. I did play Russell Henley at 16-1. Henley made a late charge at Augusta, was playing really well. All aspects of his game looked sharp. And Henley actually played real well a year ago here at the RBC Heritage in Hilton Head. He was in the hunt to win the thing. I think he profiles well as a mid-range odds guy who could win it. I looked at Maverick McNeely at 40-1, but that's only a small play. So that's all I've got really in terms of the futures this week, kind of taking it easy on golf. I will say this. I want to throw this at you guys. I was going to bet this at Circa. I was too late to pull the trigger. I looked at the sheet. Jacob Bridgman was plus 130 in a matchup with Colin Morikawa this week. Now, Morikawa's he's limping around like a cripple. Like he can barely pick up the ball or swing the club, and somehow he goes 9 under at Augusta. But he's going to play again this week. He can barely walk, and he's going to play again this week in Hilton Head. I thought you had to bet against him in this matchup. He was plus 130 at Circle last night. Now he's Bridgman's minus 105, so a little bit late to the party there.
Wow. How is Morikawa possibly going to play?
I don't know. I don't know how he's going to play. You have to bet against him in any matchup you can find again, right? I mean, was he faking the injury? What's going on?
Something must have been happening. By the way, after round 3, he talked about how that was maybe his most special performance ever at a tournament. Like, that's how happy he was with himself.
I just don't understand how a guy can barely walk or bend over and pick up the ball out of the hole, and he shoots 9 under, and he's going to play again this week. How's he going to play again this week or play well?
And why would he care after that kind of a round? And he called it like the best he's ever, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, that's a good catch. You can follow Matt on X. He's at Matt Youmans 24/7. Best of luck tonight, pal. We appreciate the time as always.
Thanks.
Thank you.
He joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line.
Get a blizzard for us. Well done.
Do you know that they have, some spots have animal cookie blizzards now?
Oh, really?
Now, I'm a sucker for animal cookies. Like, those are elite.
Yes.
To have that on a blizzard,
yep.
Now we're talking. What a great combination that is.
I talked to our friend who's got one in Buffalo. I said, trying to work something out here with Circa. Get the deli bars, get the ice cream shop set up, whatever. Deli bars, the blizzards, whatever. He goes, done. I'll do it tomorrow. Derek signs off on it.
What was your favorite kind of blizzard?
Reese's Pieces?
I like the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Yeah, okay.
Those are solid, man.
Yeah, it's a strong cone. My cousin worked at the busiest one in the country.
Where?
When she was in high school.
The Mall of America?
It was in St. Cloud, Minnesota, because it was proper right there where everyone drives up and down Division Street.
In Pocket Place coming up next year on VSiN.